We have a motion to open up the public hearings.
Make a motion to open the public hearing tonight?
Second.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Tonight, we have 3 public hearings. Pardon?
We do it on the meeting.
We could do it twice if you'd like.
No problem, Mac. You're in charge.
The first one being Deborah Mack. Can you read the public notice, please?
Notice is hereby given that the Town of Shandaken Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 267-A of the state law and as prescribed by the District Schedule of Area and Bulk Regulations of the Shandaken Zoning Code for the purpose of hearing the following applicant. Regarding an application for area variance submitted by William Dearden on behalf of Deborah Mack for a parcel located at 51 Broad Street Hollow Road in Shandaken, New York, further identified as SBL number 5.4-1-33, said parcel consisting of .24 acres and being located in a residential 3-acre zoning district. The applicant is seeking a 44-foot area variance in relief of the required side yard setback in order to construct an addition on the existing home. The public hearing is scheduled for July 2nd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at the Shandaken Town Hall, 7209 Route 28, Shandaken, New York. Anyone who wishes to make comment regarding the application may do so during the public hearing. If you are unable to attend, you can send any comments you would like read during the meeting to shandakenbldg@gmail.com or PO Box 134, Shandaken, New York 12480. All such comments must be received no later than July 2nd, 2025 at 3 o'clock p.m.
Do we have any communication based on the variance, or either for or against?
No correspondence for this applicant. No.
Is there anybody here that would like to speak for or against the variance?
My name's George Neer. I'm at 55 Broad Street Hollow Road. I have no problem with this at all whatsoever.
Thank you, George. Bill, would you like to comment on the variance?
I'm on the builder, I don't have a problem with it. I don't know if I should. It's gonna be pretty.
There you go.
It's confidence there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on
No.
the variance before us?
I'm good.
Nope. I'm good.
Can I get a motion to approve the variance?
You're
As
in public
requested.
hearings right now.
Pardon?
You're in public hearings right now.
Yeah.
You got
Excuse me.
public,
Yeah,
definitely a
excuse
motion
me.
to close.
Let's close the public hearing
Yeah.
for Mac.
Yep. Motion to close the public hearing for Matt?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the Wellington Blueberry.
We got 7 minutes, I think. Jan, we have 7 minutes yet. I think Jan is not up here. And I need to go to the bathroom.
7. Pretty quick.
Yeah. Exactly.
in my shop sometimes, right?
No,
Most likely people will.
that's fine. I'll hook you up. What's that?
Trying to stick around.
For the second, yeah, I think so, for the next meeting.
It's just a special meeting, right?
It's a special.
You guys can vote. It's a special meeting, so you can hold your public hearings and do like you can treat it like a regular. Well, it's not, but you can treat it like that because we advertised it with enough time.
So in other words, if you wanted to vote
All of these you can.
after the public hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you talk to Mark today? Did you see the one? I couldn't remember.
No, Hank said he had reached out but didn't hear back from him.
Apparently John's got home. He got home and then his aide was like in the same shop. So he didn't
Oh no.
remember what he
Oh my god.
I know.
In Kingston?
I don't know. I'm assuming Margaretville because I think they were at Cobb's.
Right. Oh, Fresh Town.
That's the that's the
One. Jameson's friends. Which he shouldn't. Because he can't take care of go, like, you know. So I hear Jameson going, oh, so apparently.
Not that it's new, but it's an addendum. It's in addition, it's in addition to what we know.
Right, he goes, who knows what happened? Because today, when I went to the store after work, I saw him in the parking lot, you know, chit-chatting it up. I was like, yeah, I'm sure he had to get
Planetary.
Yeah. Like, who knows, James knows he's
It's supposed to be 25 feet. And I got this guy who's been the thing is, it's in bullshit. It's very
good, thank you. How are you?
besides that, there's no actual service. It's approximately schedule. Also, it's not, I guess I was, also it's like a shit. And it's in their plans. And that's Verizon, it's in their plans, it's submitted, there's gonna be 2 cameras. One goes through, one so everything goes out. County generated. Do research. There's a lot of places they have. When the power is out, batteries go in. Test the batteries and stuff. They're not doing it here. Let's see what they say. How do we do it? I should have said that. This isn't wood. This is Chinese. Yeah. How's it going? Good. I saw Wallace, was it yesterday? She had a mother who was taking her off a diet. Not yesterday. Might have been Saturday.
She's gonna be like 11 in like 2 years.
Think so? She's out of her mind sometimes. But how about with Betty? And she came asking right down to my house. And they said, listen, don't let her on the phone. Don't give her any information. And I said, watch your mail for a certified letter. She let her in the house. And she would have never done that.
It makes it so funny, Tom. I think it's funny, like chasing you all over the lawn.
It's very much fun.
It's really having fun with life.
How's that not fun for you? That wasn't.
Because when it doesn't make any sense, of course it's fun. When you go on our front door, wash your hair, so it's fit, wash dryer, right there. So he's ready to.
Just keeping your mind sharp.
If you're not appreciating it,
He's just trying to keep you on your toes.
that's all. Yeah, he's trying to get my head like this morning. That's all my friend cold crust, jet jewels, on the nightstand. I had to pick them up and move them.
Can I have a motion to open up the public hearing for Blueberry Wellington?
Motion to open the public hearing.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Can you read the public notice, please?
Absolutely. All right. Notice is hereby given that the Town of Shandaken Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 267-A of the state law and as prescribed by the District Schedule of Area and Bulk Regulations of the Shandaken Zoning Code for the purpose of hearing the following applicant. Regarding an application for 5 area variances and 2 use variances submitted by Wellington Blueberry LLC for a parcel located at 310 Main Street in Pine Hill, New York, further identified as SBL number 4.46-1-32.110, said parcel consisting of 0.75 acres and being located in a hamlet commercial zoning district. The applicant is seeking the variances in order to convert an existing structure to 10 housing units with a retail use on the first floor. The public hearing is scheduled for July 2nd, 2025 at 6:45 p.m. at the Shandaken Town Hall, 7209 Route 28, Shandaken, New York. Anyone who wishes to make comment regarding the application may do so during the public hearing. If you are unable to attend, you can send any comments you would like read during the meeting to shandakenbldg@gmail.com or P.O. Box 134, Shandaken, New York 12480. All such comments must be received no later than July 2nd, 2025 at 3:00 p.m.
Is there a representative from Wellington Blueberry? I'm not going to speak on the variances. I noticed that there's an addendum to the use variance that was already discussed and had a public hearing for. We waived the 62-day period to come up with an answer. An answer to that use variance, which was in relief of 116-48. And since there's an addendum to that in this particular package, which asks for relief for a cafe on the first floor.
I'm sorry, I don't know what you're referring to.
You have 2 use variances in this package.
Yes,
And then
one
you
is
have
for
4 or 5.
acreage and the one is for the minimum lot area.
There's one for the cafe.
No,
I think that, okay, so when they first applied, before they had representation, they applied for the use variance for the density, and that does include, the calculation of the density does include the retail use on the first floor, so that's likely where that's popping up. they started sort of over again once Mike came in. So these 7 variances that are being requested, that we're talking about tonight, that's all of the variances that they need.
Grace, I could go through all 7 if you want.
Well, that's,
Do you want to hear all 7 variances? Sure.
I'm sorry, I couldn't even see you there.
Yeah.
Snuck in, yeah.
Alan's like the wind.
Come on up, Alan.
So, the public hearing that we had in April 2016, 48, we heard and we held our decisions in days based on the CEQA
Right.
application.
Based on the subsequent
In this package, though, I see that it's added as an addendum, the cafe.
Where do you see that?
No, the addendum is just an addendum to the application. So the addendum is just an explanation of the 7 variances, and why they need them. That's all that addendum is. And that 11640A is being applied for as an area variance, not a use. The 2 use variances being requested, not to go over your head.
Okay.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Is, there's a density variance being requested because there's not enough land area. And then there's the open space, code allows for 25% of their open space to be taken up by flood.
Yeah.
And you've got 45%.
Correct.
So they're requesting a 20% variance for the open space.
So those are our only 2 use variances.
Right.
Basically, you're going, for the first one, you're going from, we're going for 10 multi-family housing units, which would normally require 2.06 acres, development size between 9 acres. So that's the first use variance. Okay, so for the first use variance, it's acreage necessary for 10 multifamily housing units would normally be approximately 2.06 acres plus minus. The total project site is 0.9 acres.
Understood.
So that's the first one. The second use variance is the amount of required minimum lot area located within the floodplain for a multifamily commercial parcel cannot exceed 25% of parcel total acreage. Approximately 45% of the project's lands are within the combined area, and that assumes about a 0.4 acre use variance on that piece. So those are the 2 use variances before the 5 area variances.
Maybe we should pause there and just see if there are questions on those 2 use variances.
I don't think there's, I mean, I don't have any questions. It's fairly clear. I just, I want to understand, have you guys clearly demonstrated the following points? The applicant is substantially unable to make reasonable return on the property. I mean, can you kind of go through those 4 points that justify the use variance? So one of them would be, of course, it would be financial evidence.
The property with 10 workforce affordable units and the grocery store pencils out to minimum cash flow. And we experimented with trying to do fewer. As you probably know, in Shandaken, but especially in Pine Hill, commercial property is not very expensive. It's very hard to lease it for more than $1.50 a square foot. That'll be a challenge. And because we're trying to keep the units affordable to people who are making on average 60% of the area median income, we need the 10 units in order to make that work. There's it's like a math problem. There isn't a way of like increasing the commercial and making more money or reducing the number of units and making more money.
Okay, and then the other one is the hardship that was somewhat unique, or at least not shared by a majority of parcels in the same zoning district. Have you guys demonstrated that?
I believe we have in the
It's here. Do you have that large packet?
yeah.
So if you start on
Yeah.
page 56,
There's extensive write-up within zoning and Michael Morello's documentation submitted on each one of the points.
Okay.
if you start on page 56, each
Yeah.
of those is answered there. I don't know if it's what you're looking for.
I mean, I just would like to know if you guys actually documented all of these 4 points?
All of that is documented
Okay.
in the material that you have in front of you.
Mhm.
And honestly, it's been a little while since we wrote it. I'd be happy
Yeah.
to like take it and, go over it out loud if that's helpful.
So the 2 use variances are the 4 to 10 units.
No.
No.
I know you keep saying they're an area variance, but
Yeah, they
here
are
it says
an
it's
area
a use variance.
Who says it's used?
The use, yeah, it's in relief of 11648. And it
Who
says
says
that
that?
it's a use variance
Who says?
in combination of the cafe.
Who says? I'm just not. I'm
The
confused about
paperwork
where-
that I'm reading.
Hmm?
The paperwork that I'm reading, that they submitted.
Well, that paper, the original paperwork that was submitted is to be disregarded. The paperwork that you all are reviewing now is what was submitted by the attorney.
When did we disregard it?
Well,
When you accepted the new application.
it might be worth just going back to remind people what we did. We're a community-based, or let me finish for a minute. We're a community-based group that bought the property. We were eager to assemble everything, so the first thing we did was come to the planning board and the zoning board. And we came to you early before we had our partnership with our developer, Rupco, or a lawyer. And after we had, that ZBA meeting, and after that, we all decided with the ZBA to start, at your advice, by submitting an application to the planning board, which we did. And then we did a seeker type 1, and the planning board has given us a negative declaration on that. And our lawyer has submitted the application that you have in front of you to respond to the 2 use variances and the 5 area variances that we all agreed with, both with the staff here, with the ZBA's lawyer, and with our lawyer, what was needed.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. And it's a long process, so, and I understand you've got a million projects in front of you. There's no reason why you would keep all that in your head. It's in our head because we're obsessed with it. But that's how we're here. So there was an earlier application, but we agreed that that was over, and it's the application.
See, that's the problem I think we have. I don't think
Yeah.
any of us knew that we didn't have that application before us anymore, that it was disregarded. Discarded, and then you submitted a new application. That's the part that I guess is confusing to us. Because the last thing that I think I remember was that we agreed on the answer to the use variance that was originally submitted to waive the 62-day time period. And then the next thing, and we waived it based on the fact that we were going to get a secret.
And make it an application. And in the application, we answered all these questions that you have about,
Yeah, but that was with the planning board.
but you also have that application.
That letter was addressed to the planning board and to the zoning board of appeals.
Yeah.
And was submitted to you the day I received it from them.
Okay, and the use variance that I was talking about is on the letterhead from Moriello, Michael Moriello.
Yeah, what's this?
There's no date on it. Which says use variance is requested.
I think these are the 2 use variances they're looking for.
No, I'm talking about this here.
Yeah, yeah.
just answered here, the analysis, the questions you were asking.
Actually, it's further back. Actually, further back.
Over there.
Can we,
It's a little bit
and now,
it would be great.
we cleared that up a little bit. Now we
How
can
much
move
we
on
need
to
this, how much we
the
can.
Area variance.
variances.
Okay, I'm gonna ask Alan to,
Anyways.
So let me just go through the 5 quickly. By the microphone. So there were 5 altogether. The first thing is that the number of multifamily units permitted is 4. The number proposed is 10. So that is, number 1. The second one is the number of parking spaces required on site would be 21. The number proposed on site is 11. I have plans with me here if you need to see them. We basically did the best we could, taking a 150-year-old, almost 150-year-old facility that never had any parking because it dated back to pre-automobiles, to then try to come up with a reasonable number of parking spaces with the understanding that we made sure that each tenant had a spot, since there was 10 apartments altogether.
That hasn't changed since the last time we saw you guys, right?
No, it should be, it's 11.
actually, we did bring that to the ZBA at the last meeting. In fact, we went over all 5 of these.
Yeah.
And then getting more specific into the parking, the third one is normally the aisle width based on town zoning code would be 26 feet. We're proposing 25 feet, which is also common in various other Ulster County towns. And then as far as the spot size, normally town zoning code requires 9 by 20. We were able to fit in 9 by 18 spots. So basically, between the 26-foot aisle reduction to 25 feet and reducing the spots by 9 by 20, 9 by 18, we picked up 5 feet. We were able to make the project more resilient, get further away from the embankment, make it a more workable project. And we studied extensively other local zoning regs to verify those sizes existed someplace else. The fourth one was, the fifth one was the side yard setback normally requires 20 feet. It's pre-existing, we're going with 5 feet. So basically, to summarize again, increasing the number of multifamily units that's permitted from 4 to 10, reducing the number of spaces from 21 to 11, with the understanding we're purchasing spaces off-site, reducing the aisle width from 26 feet to 25 feet, reducing the parking space size from 9 by 20 to 9 by 18, and reducing the side yard setback, instead of pre-existing, from 20 feet to 5 feet.
Just on the parking, I just want to remind you that we are complying with Town Code 116-24 and Resolution number 141-24 that sets a one-time fee of $250 for each parking space. We've made a check.
Off-street?
It's in lieu of parking, yeah, so it's off-site. We've provided a check to the town and they've accepted it for 14 spaces, which is 3 spaces more than we really need by the code, but just to protect ourselves. So we have a copy of their receipt of the check.
Which is essentially, this is news to me, I'm sorry. It's 26 spaces.
Yeah.
You don't need the variance for the number of parking spaces. If the town has provided proof that you purchased 14 spaces, that counts towards what you're required to have Mike's not here though, so I don't know if you want to just speak.
Hey, let's just remove that.
I don't think it's necessary.
It isn't.
Code requires 22 spaces and you're now.
They have
you're now at
26.
They still need the variance for the aisle width and the parking
Right,
space
so the
sizes,
4.
but the number of spaces, this I was unaware of, I apologize. I shouldn't have.
I'm sorry, I thought you
So you
did.
could just remove that area variance.
I don't think they need it.
So basically, your thought process is that since
You're
you're
providing-
purchasing
Yeah.
it.
The whole point of the casual parking section of code is so that these types of variances aren't required. It's supposed to be a benefit to the applicant as well as the town.
Okay. We'll double check with Mike, but I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
Right, well, I'll sign off, like, if you came to me with
You would
this
sign?
fresh, if I had this in
Okay.
hand when we met with Daniele and Mike,
Yeah.
I can promise that the decision was made. The
Okay.
variance for the number of spaces. was
Okay,
approved.
terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes everybody's life a little simpler.
I'm not in the right email thread. I gotta get myself more email threads, which is the last thing I
Yeah,
actually
right.
want.
Does anybody have any questions about any of these variances, whether use or area?
I don't.
Nope.
Is any of the public here to speak either for or against the Wellington Blueberry project and these variances?
We do have one letter that came in afterwards, which we should address.
Hi, my name is Pamela Martin, and I live in Pine Hill. I live in a converted church. I've been there for 25 years. I love old buildings, beautiful old buildings, and I was always impressed by the Wellington, and I'm very, very happy that my neighbors have joined together to try to save this beautiful building and for such a great usage. I think having affordable housing for people and having some kind of ground floor cafe, grocery, what have you, is going to serve both locals and weekenders and visitors and everyone else. I'm very happy about the project.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gigi Luiso, also a Pine Hill neighbor, and the reason I came up today is because I recently bought a piece of property that our backyards abut the Wellington. And I have to say, knowing this project was happening gave me the confidence to buy this building and also do some renovation and bring it up to year 2025. I'm thrilled with this project. I think I have no problem with density. I think having neighbors there is going to be great, not just for the folks who have a place to live in when they can afford it, but also for the town's vibrancy. So I'm excited about the whole project.
Can you state your name, please?
Gigi Luiso.
Disclose that you're also
What?
disclose that you're also
And also a Villa Lodge, is that what you're saying?
the Wellington.
Oh, I'm also a board member of the Wellington. Important fact.
So I would hope that you would be for the project and
Yes,
speak well of it.
Yeah.
but so much so that I bought a piece of property next.
Does anybody have anything else to add?
I think we had another letter that came in afterwards that we probably should address, just for the record.
In addition to 14 letters of
Of
support.
support.
Every single letter.
And this one is basically just asking some questions that maybe we can answer for them.
Yeah, you can read.
You want me to read it? Yeah. Sure, it's that.
So that is dated June 18th.
Yep.
Yes, okay.
Would you read that for the record?
Yes, all right. Good evening. I would like to know if there is a maximum number of people allowed living in each of the apartments and in the building proper. Also, if the commercial space is not rented, can more apartments be introduced into that area? Lastly, the zoning board letter of December 18th, 2024 stated the land area is 0.95 acre. The letter for tonight's hearing states it's 0.75 acre. What is the actual size? Thank you, Michael Boyer.
Can you address that?
Kevin O'Connor from Rufco, co-developing the project. And I think the occupancy question, so studios are, occupancy standards for studios are one person, and for one bedrooms, it's 1 to 2. There's some additional questions I didn't hear.
The acreage I can explain. The town's records reflect 3/4 of an acre. That's inaccurate. Likely it was based on a description that was before they had a proper survey.
Yeah.
So that's why that 0.75 is on there.
So it's actually 9.5.
Yeah. And then he asked, if the commercial space is not rented, can more apartments be introduced in that area? And the answer to that is not without planning board and zoning board approval in the future.
Now we just said our brewer survey is .921. Yes.
I have that in the
Yes. And, you know, part of why we got involved in this project is to bring some commercial to Pine Hill. That's been a real hard thing to do. Overall, we've had some real success because I think this project has gotten a lot of attention and we've worked really hard. We have 4 small independent grocers who are interested in moving into the space. None of them have signed letters of commitment, so I'm not saying that is going to happen, but that's our ideal. And as Grace said, we could not just add housing willy-nilly. We would have to come back to the board if that was the case, but it's certainly not what we want. We want commercial on the ground floor in Pine Hill everywhere.
You know, I think that the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I believe we all feel the same way, that it's an amazing project. It's an undertaking that I can't believe that 20 or 30 individuals put their heads together and their money and beat the drums and squeezed all the representatives that you possibly could to get grants and things like that. So we applaud what you're doing in Pine Hill, and I think it's going to be a great building for the community and the town of Shandaken. So I thank you for taking on that project.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say I'm really proud that we live in a town that cares enough that the planning board and the zoning board really looks carefully at what's happening and really doesn't just close one eye over things. So appreciate questions. It's really helpful. It's not seen as a burden. It's really important to have volunteers who are willing to really dig into this. And I do feel like Shandaken is turning a corner as a pro-housing town, as a town that really cares about both residents and tourists thriving here. So thank you. So I see this as a partnership.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hearing no more questions, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So Mike asked if you would like, Mike Morial asked if you would like him to draft the resolution for you to review. Or just do it yourself. Okay.
If he'd feel more comfortable with it, then I'll happily, like, this will be on YouTube tomorrow, so he can see what they voted, if they're voting later, what they're voting on exactly, and then if he wants to, we can go back, tell Mike I'll email.
Okay.
He usually likes to
I know.
draft himself.
Oh, I know.
The whole goal is if he can draft. the
He doesn't
proposed
trust anybody
resolution.
else. He doesn't trust
He's just
anybody
very
else.
specific.
He's very
It's good.
Basically, so it'd be a proposed resolution granting final area/use variance approvals for your review and any changes. So you draft it, you review it, it can be changed as required. That was one of the goals for tonight. The other one was obviously having closed the public hearing. So,
It's just, it'll be difficult for him to draft resolutions if he's not here when they're made. So it'll just be difficult for him to draft resolutions because he's not here. So he doesn't know how they're gonna be made. But I will happily make sure he gets a copy of the video and we can chat back and forth. Okay.
Okay. Next on the agenda is Verizon. Can I get past 7 o'clock?
Yeah, it is.
Can I get a motion to open the public hearing on Verizon?
Motion to open the public hearing on Verizon?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. We're not gonna wait for the vote?
Maybe they don't think it's going to happen.
I don't know.
Grace, thank you for helping us along there with this.
I'm sorry I should have been more
Project.
clear earlier, I apologize.
It's okay. Thank you. I just
Grace.
appreciate the,
I noticed they just left. Are they coming back for the vote?
I don't know.
Or are we going to wait for Mike's
No,
resolution?
no, we're gonna
no
vote.
comment.
Okay.
I know that they want to be at the planning board this month. They need these resolutions,
Okay.
if the board wants to.
Okay.
Can you read the public notice?
Sure can. All right. Notice is hereby given that the Town of Shandaken Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 267-A of the state law and as prescribed by the District Schedule of Area and Bulk Regulations of the Shandaken Zoning Code for the purpose of hearing the following applicant. Regarding an application for 2 area variances submitted by Verizon Wireless for a parcel located on Route 28 in Phoenicia, further identified as SBL number 14.13-3-32, said parcel consisting of 34.8 acres and being located in a hamlet residential zoning district. The applicant is seeking the variances in order to erect a telecommunications tower. The public hearing is scheduled for July 2nd, 2025 at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Shandaken Town Hall, 7209 Route 28, Shandaken, New York. Anyone who wishes to make comment regarding the application may do so during the public hearing. If you are unable to attend, you can send any comment you would like read during the meeting to shandakenbldg@gmail.com or P.O. Box 134, Shandaken, New York 12480. All such comments must be received no later than July 2nd, 2025 at 3 o'clock p.m.
Good evening, everybody. My name is James Laval. I work for the law firm Young Summer. I'm the attorney representing Verizon tonight. Just wanted to make myself known in case the board had questions or any members of the public did as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Were there any communications regarding the Verizon project?
No letters, no emails.
Is there anybody here from the public that would like to speak either for or against the Verizon project?
I would.
State your name and your address.
Sam Lemay, 500 Sam's Point, Road, Phoenicia.
Please just sign in, Sam. Thank you so much.
So I attended the board meeting there last round over there and stated multiple reasons. This is directly impacting me. This is within 500 feet of my house. It is, for starters, it's in my view. And as far as the application goes, they're proposing to use my power line, which is, they apparently don't even know where the property lines are. And that's my line itself, and the proposed road itself coming in down borders the northern property line. So as far as they're off on my line, I'm not so sure they're off there. So the variance can't even, I can't even see where they can seek a variance. They don't even know where the line is. And like I said, this is unquestionably in my view, and way too close. They have it listed in there like it's vacant property. This is all, I use this property. It's so, and there's multiple things as far as in there with zoning, as far as visual impact. I don't know if there's a secret for visual and or environmental been done on this. But I'm highly opposed.
So, when you just said they were your power poles, can you describe that a little bit more? Can you go into that a little bit more?
That's, power line that they have on the applications they've submitted, they're showing that it's on that particular property that they're proposing a tower for, that my line is on that side, and it's in the application presented to you guys that they're going to use that line. That's solely my line. I paid, I put it in. Property lines are inaccurate.
So you own the poles?
I own the poles. Personally put the poles in, had them put in, paid for myself, and that was in 2000.
And you're saying the poles are shown in the wrong location?
The poles are showing on the opposing property, which is not so. So the survey says approximate location of property lines, which they're not even close.
Do you know where that is in this book here? Can you show that side?
Right here, utility poles.
And they're showing what the proposed usage and coming in using this line. So this is
And what you're saying is that this line, you don't believe that that line is correct?
This line is way down here. Line is very not inaccurate.
Were you guys aware of this?
So this is Brian Sargent with me. He's part of our site acquisition. You can actually speak to this issue a little more. So,
I just have another question for Sammy. You say that this tower is 500 feet from your house?
It's within
And when,
500 feet.
when you look out your windows, your
When I look out
elevation,
the window, this is going to be probably at least 120 feet above the tree line in my view of the mountains. It's directly in my view. It's directly down. All the area that's down there is not wooded land. It's I occupy that. My daughter's sleigh rides, snowmobiles, plays, does whatever there. It's occupied land.
right,
And there's even in the laws in there as far as that I was reading up on they're saying that ice falling off the tower contained within the zone in which it's gonna be. There's 50-mile-an-hour winds and it blows the shingles off my garage and they land far away. So I can't imagine where the ice is gonna land on this off this thing. So, and that's just a few things. And I know that, I don't know if they've, like I said, environmentally, I said nothing else. I witnessed a dead rattlesnake leaving that property. It was in the road last year. So that's an endangered species for this property. Just something else to consider, aside of everything else.
does anybody have any more questions for Sam?
I don't think so.
Any questions?
Which property are you saying? All three of these?
No.
Let's go back to this one.
This
There's
one.
no property line. So you're,
Yeah, this is state land over here, and then this comes down, and then my corner is
Let me see it.
down below.
you're here?
This
No,
is-
you're here.
Yeah, this is me here. And this is the state land corner.
This is you here.
This is me, and then my other corner, and then I have a utility easement from there down over the neighbor.
So this is,
So this is my parcel here. This is state land over here.
and the rattlesnake was?
Was down where the entrance is to the road going down there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So, go on where we started, Brian, about the utility pole.
yeah, can you state your name again? I didn't hear it.
It's James LaValle.
Brian Sargent with Aerosmith Development. We were tasked a couple of years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, finding a site in this area. As it all knows, service, particularly at that end, is non-existent. It's a very tough place. We've been in contact, and we're actually in joint consideration with Ulster County because there's a need for emergency services in this area. A lot of people don't recognize that they use their cell phone for 911. But I wanted to speak to the property issues that Sam just raised. And Sam is correct in my understanding that the poles are in fact owned by him. But we do believe the underlying property, at least according to our surveyor, is in fact on the parcel that we're leasing. So we cannot use his poles that are owned by him. Those are customer owned. How that happened, I'm not quite sure. But we would then propose, it's likely, we're still contemplating how we resolve this issue, but we would potentially just run a pole line adjacent to that existing pole on the underground line. So we're working on resolving that as we speak.
Prior to submitting all of this, didn't Verizon feel it necessary to do a survey?
There is a survey. There is a survey.
It's not a current survey. We only see approximate property lines, an approximate, and you're asking for a 55-foot variance on, I believe, Mr. Umhay's property, and that's only, it's not accurate if it's
We did have
not
a
an
full survey.
actual survey.
We did have a full survey for this.
So Verizon goes about and actually decides where a tower can be placed, potential lands, but once a lease is executed with the landowner, as it currently has been, the next thing we do is go out and conduct a full survey. That survey is how we determine that, again, the poles are on, Mr. Glassman, Mr. Umhayer's property, the poles that Mr. Umhayer referred to are not on his property, he does own them, but the poles themselves, again, based on our surveyor and the survey we conducted along with GIS mapping that is available from the county demonstrates that the poles are in fact on our landowner's property.
They're not on our property.
Well, why-
There was an easement granted down there on the whole thing coming up here, so there is no evidence that there has been a physical land survey done through down there with Rivers. I don't know if you've done this GPS or something, but none of those poles are on this property.
But also, I mean, if you have in fact done a survey, why is it still called approximate on the drawings that we have? Every drawing that we have in this booklet says approximate location of property line.
So drawings in those books are construction drawings. They're used to demonstrate what the approximation of the town and proposed project would look like. When we go through, we check and see what the town actually requires to be submitted so we can meet all of our application requirements. The full file survey is not part of them. The construction drawings are what we use to give a full understanding of what the project is. If the board would like to see our survey that is completed, we'd be happy to see it.
I mean, I think it's impossible for us to consider this, considering that there's not even an accurate survey yet. I mean, this is too important a project for the scenic byway, for the neighbors, for us to be able to consider this without even an accurate survey included in the booklet.
So, yeah, understood?
And also the new knowledge, of the poles being the neighbor's ownership, being his property. We didn't know that before.
So again, the pole issue would be resolved internally, given the work with the utility provider to erect poles ourselves and manage them ourselves, or again, we would trench underground. So the poles themselves, we would not touch. Again, county GIS mapping and maps available do demonstrate in our estimation, and again, are confirmed by our surveyor, that this property and the poles themselves are on, our landowner's property. However, going back to that, the issue itself here is the poles and running electricity power off the poles. And it's a bit of a moot point, understanding that these are this gentleman's poles on his property, poles that he owns. We're looking to circumvent that in its entirety by trenching electricity ourselves or erecting our own poles.
Well, I think that's just one of the issues. I think the biggest issue is the 55-foot setback. You know, the area variance that you're requesting and asking for, that's a pretty big reach. That tower is 200 feet. And you're saying that the property lines are approximate. So how do you come up with 55 feet if the property lines are approximate? It could be 85 feet, it could be 30 feet.
So again, the 55 feet is based off of meets and bounds done by the survey we have conducted.
Okay?
It clearly states in my deed and the neighbor's deed.
You should
Can
come
you
to the
step up to the
microphone,
mic?
Sam.
Clearly states in my deed and the neighbor's deed, which is Vincent Colantoni, which my easement is over from my power line. It clearly states in there the easement over Vincent Colantoni, not, and it says borders the line of Ring, which is the pre-existing property of Mr. Parslow. So it belonged to Ring in the beginning, and it clearly states in two different deeds that that right-of-way coming up is clearly on, which belongs now to Vincent Colantoni. So wherever they're getting their survey from is completely inaccurate.
Again, our surveys are conducted with the meets and bounds done in properties and GIS. We believe our surveyor to be correct. Our surveyor is, we have no reason to believe that the data exactly presented is inaccurate.
You have any questions?
How do you resolve one word against another on the survey?
I mean, you guys put towers up all the time. It's kind of amazing that you wouldn't be so accurate with a survey when you're looking for a setback.
Again, sir, we believe we are. We have conducted this survey in accordance with every other survey that Verizon does and goes out and conducts. These setbacks and area variances requested are off the meets and bounds of our survey. I cannot speak to, again, this gentleman's property line where he believes it to be. We do run into this issue occasionally where sometimes property individuals believe it's in one place or another. I'm not saying, again, this gentleman is incorrect in this case. However, our surveys are done by our licensed engineers and surveyors. We have no reason to believe they're inaccurate. Our data and our requests for the area variance are based on such. And again, we're more than happy to submit our certified survey.
And I think I have another question. Why not 180 feet as opposed to 200 feet in height?
So, tower heights, specifically when it comes to cell towers, because cell towers are still line of sight technology, meaning if you can't see the tower or you're in a knoll or you're hidden behind a hillside or whatever it is, the tower can't actually get its signal to you. I believe this tower is 194 feet.
99.
With a
99.
5-foot thingy on top.
1 foot under FFA.
Yeah, so it's 195 feet down with a 4-foot lighting rod, bringing it to a grand total of 199 feet. The reason we keep these and attempt to keep these at all costs under 200 feet is because over 200 feet of
The FAA
requirements, we have to light the towers. We understand that, neighbors, people driving by, the towns themselves don't want to look at them.
Under over 200 feet, the FAA gets involved.
Yes.
Is there going to be any lights on this tower?
No, so the only light that will exist in this tower compound would be a small motion-activated LED light at the base of the tower itself, and that would be in case a maintenance team needed to go out when it was dark. Again, it would be motion-activated, would not be on, would be unintrusive unless somebody was actually in the tower compound working with the tower itself.
And can you explain why there's 2 generators that are going to be operated in the confinement of your chain link fence?
So, the first Verizon generator is what we have switched to in the event of outages. It's a 200-gallon diesel generator. It's a double wall tank with internal monitoring, so we can know in case anything ever happens. God forbid the tank is punctured. What that'll do is, in the event that there is, again, as we get heavy storms in New York, we see nor'easters, heavy winters, whatever it may be. If power were to be lost to the tower for any reason, that generator could then run the tower for anywhere from 48 to 72 hours based on the demand. The second generator, I believe, is for the county's own EMS equipment. The way this tower is currently structured, Verizon initially proposed, or in our internal propositions, was a 174-foot tower. The additional 20 feet was added on top upon consultation with Ulster County because they wanted to mount EMS and 911 equipment on it. So, in order to power their equipment, again, in the event of emergency outages, they need the second generator within the compound.
Yeah, well, one is going to be propane and the other is diesel.
Yes.
Why not use battery backup, as you do on other sites, Verizon,
So battery
because of noise restrictions?
Battery backup was very common 10 or 15 years ago or so. We're finding now that the actual diesel generators, or in some cases propane, which we use depending on where the site is, where the wetlands, where environmental hazards there may be. Battery backups, 1, don't last as long, and 2, are slightly less reliable. So we've switched over to diesel now. They're easier for us to monitor. We can monitor them remotely in case anything happens to them. They're easier to replenish in the event of an outage that extends for several days or weeks even. It's much easier for us to go up and actually just get a team in a snowmobile or whoever it may be to top off a diesel generator as opposed to recharging a battery on a tower in a remote location such as this.
Okay.
I just want to add to that too. This
Can you step up and speak
This
in
is
the
like
mic?
75 feet off my mowed portion of my lawn. So the noise coming from this, it's a definite impact. And then they're proposing a 199-foot tower, which is just playing games with not putting a light on, staying under FFA. Military maneuvers go through here every day. I have pictures going through every day, or not every day, but monthly. They come through the other day. They come over the top of me right there. And with that not being marked, which it's completely unacceptable to me that the position of this period to be in my view and devalue my property for one, and then 2, playing games with possible impacts with planes and everything else, or they're going to put a light on it so that it annoys me at night too in my window. So the whole thing is completely unacceptable.
Again, just to address those points, when Verizon actually goes through and constructs towers, and towers are built out, when construction construction starts and there's cranes in the area, our internal team goes through and actually marks it on all FAA systems. So in cockpits of planes, helicopters, whatever it may be, whatever aircraft are coming through the area, there are markers indicating that there are large structures in the area. Then when the tower itself is completed, it's completely registered with the FAA. It is entered into all flight paths, so all, again, planes, helicopters, whatever it may be, are aware that it's in the area. It's the same as any other tower, a radio station, cell telecommunications tower you may see on the adjacent mountains in the area or Master County.
Let me ask a question. Do you feel that this is an undesirable change to the neighborhood?
No, sir.
You do not. And do you feel that it is an undesirable look for the scenic byway of the Catskill Mountain Park
Again, we do not.
when it's right on the scenic byway?
Again, we do not. These towers are made out of galvanized steel, which over time weathers into a very muted gray color within the first 6 to 12 months. They blend into the skylines very well. And again, coming to that and referencing what Brian mentioned earlier, telecommunications service, E911 service in this area along that portion of the bend and scenic byway is non-existent. So understanding that, well, yes, people may not enjoy the sight of the Great Tower at first, visual blindness one becomes a thing, and two, there's a public safety aspect. Furthermore, the requirements of Verizon to abide by, how do I frame this? The requirements of Verizon to abide by visual impacts and board criteria are slightly different under federal law, under something called the Rosenberg standard.
Rosenberg.
Yes, sir.
You mean, was it, I can't think of the tower company, Celia One against Rosenberg, Dobbs Ferry,
In the case.
Children's Village, 209 acres, that was a use variance, that wasn't an area variance that they,
No, I understand, but however, those criteria have been adopted by the Telecommunications Act and the Employment Fields in New York State to apply to all.
but for all of those actual arbitrations or Supreme Court decisions, there's also decisions that go in favor of communities that are opposed or for whatever reason, not according to their zoning codes, that deny it.
No,
So, I mean,
Again, I'm not saying that Verizon is exempt from these things. Boards, local boards and municipalities absolutely have the right to evaluate applications on viewshed analysis. I was saying that the third court of the Court of Appeals in New York has weaned down some of the criteria.
how about the RF value of the radiation within so many feet of the tower? There's been studies on that.
Yes, there have been.
There's some studies say that 400 meters is a safe distance, which is a quarter of a mile.
So, just on the subject of RF safety, the FCC has federally preempted that and guides and controls all RF emission studies in terms of the telecommunications companies, meaning that the FCC has determined what levels are federally acceptable. Now, bearing that in mind, if this tower was turned on, every band on it was emitted, maxed out at 100% of its power. And what I say by that is imagine you have something akin to Woodstock 99 going on at the base of the tower, where everyone is on their phone, everyone's trying to hook up and gather a signal. This tower would operate at less than 2% of what the FCC deems as acceptable levels of RF emissions.
That's at 5G?
Yes, 4G and 5G. With that in mind, though, this event where, again, in this area especially, that every band on this tower would be used because so many people would be on demand for the network is likely to never happen. What these towers do is they essentially flip into a sleep mode when there's no demand on it. So 4 a.m., nobody's driving by, nobody's trying to connect to the internet. The tower has what we call pilot signal, which is just a continuous ping which sees if anybody's phone is actually trying to connect to the tower itself. So when no one is trying to connect to it, again, the tower is in a sleep mode.
24/7 wherever. This is just something, if I may, my 12-year-old daughter being concerned, this is just some of the things that she Googled up real quick within about 15 minutes.
I can't hear you. So you say that the tower is safe within a quarter of a mile or within 400 feet? Say it's safe for pregnant women, young children, or older adults?
Yes, you could stand-
Because this stuff runs 24/7.
Yes, this tower is safe based on RF studies and federal guidelines. At the bottom of the tower, you could stand underneath it 24/7. And again, maxed out, it would emit less than 2% of what the FCC deemed acceptable levels of RF emissions. And that's, again, everybody on it all day, all channels maxed out. It's something that in some area, like Phoenicia, and I'm from Kingston, I know the area well, is not going to.
Do you live next to a tower?
I do actually.
Yeah?
I do. We actually also have a 5G antenna on our roof of our office.
In your office?
Yes.
Does anybody else have any questions? Alan, do you have anything to ask? Anything to contribute?
I just want to say again, they're commenting on, scenic highway and the site of this. What about right out my window, in my view, I have 30 acres up there of prime real estate in demand of these days. That is going to completely devalue my property and put this right in my view. So I'm just going to say that I am completely opposed to this, and I am willing to bring my attorney into this, because this is just very unacceptable positioning. This isn't a hardship. There's a lot of different places and locations in the town other than, I am surrounded by state land to my left. There's nobody can build to me to my south. I have an outcropping to the right, and this is the only possible place that anything could happen, because this isn't even feasible to build a dwelling. And they're cutting up through a 45-degree incline, which is going to be a major impact for a visual just coming down, heading east, looking at that. You're going to completely see that whole thing. So, and they can go, they're just trying to tie the one end with one giant monstrosity tower, in which they have plenty of money. They can put some smaller towers. They can complete it up through. There's a lot of other options and devaluing my property. And I am willing to bring my attorney.
Okay.
I know you guys have another tower on Wittenberg Road going up.
Yes.
Where is that?
Wittenberg Road.
Yeah, that is not, I mean, I can speak to that briefly. I mean, that doesn't fill in the service area at all, so.
No, I understand. My question is, I mean, obviously that didn't come from a variance. Everything there you were able to do without any variance?
Sure.
Well,
That may have been the case. I mean, in this particular case, we're really limited as far as available land parcels that meet the elevation criteria that's necessary for RF to cover 28 going, getting unoriented, but to cover that bend and to cover the corridors that are needed in the valleys, you really have to be where we are right now, where we're proposing. So there's very little options. I do know we did approach Sam for leasing interest. Did not hear back, but that is, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of options in this area.
you say you don't have a lot, you have any.
We don't have any. I mean, this is it. This is our best hope to get service in this area, and it's needed not only by Verizon Wireless, it's needed by Ulster County EMS as well. So.
I'm one of the people affected by not having service, but I'm concerned about this gentleman's property being right on top of this, and I'm not sure how to resolve it.
Well, I'm also concerned, and also on the scenic byway, have you guys done a balloon test to
We
prove?
have, that's in section 9 of yours.
It's in there?
And that includes photo simulations of what the tower will look like.
No. Can you, what page is that?
Sure. Section 9, so all these, this is a comprehensive analysis of where it will be visible. Let's see. I think it starts.
It's all in the back of the book.
Yeah, it's in
Starts here, so this is kind of a general view shed map.
Right.
And then you can go through each of those photos that were taken on, this is the photo index. Those are the ones that are visible, not visible.
But you don't have any photos of the actual test itself?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
They're in there. Yep.
Yeah, can you?
Let's see. So this one's not visible. This isn't visible. Here's
There it
one
is,
where
okay.
it is visible. That is, it tells you where the photo was taken from. Very good.
Did you say that without counting EMS services, the tower would have been 174 feet? Did I hear that right, or am I?
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
you did hear it
They
right.
added another 20 feet or something.
Because of county's request
Because of
for
the county.
co-location? Okay.
But the county hasn't filed any permits with us at all.
Well, they don't need to.
Huh?
They won't need to,
Why?
because
and
they're
I don't
going
mean
on
on-
this tower.
Yeah, no, but I'm also thinking of the 20 by 12 garage and their generator that is going to be in their fenced-in area.
Oh, that's all gonna be a part of the site plan if these,
Yeah.
and
With the planning
then
board?
if the site plan gets approved, then the building permits will just get issued to
Mhm.
whoever.
Okay.
Just got a comment if I may. Back in the early 2000s, which I didn't have, I was wondering where I was gonna make a tower working in 8 to 4:30. I actually had a lease agreement with tower company. It was a 5-year lease, they ran the lease, and in the 5 years after that, they had the option to back out. They had their full go-ahead, they decided to back out. That's back when I didn't really care about anything. And then, yes, they approached me multiple times, we were discussing dollars, and I was talking that if I was even gonna consider this, it was gonna make it worth my while. So when we got all done, then I had a family meeting, talked to my family, we discussed all the ups and downs of what was gonna happen with this, and it was a no-go with my family, that I had to take into consideration for all impacts for later on, for possible sale of the property, for everything else, for health issues and all of it. And not only that, back when, I used to have a flip phone, it was an analog, I could stand on my property and I could make telephone calls everywhere. It worked fine. So the smarter you guys get with technology, with 5G and everything else that's harmful, you should go backwards, because those phones work fine. So, and the phones we got today, actually, smarter to get, the dumber to get. Kendrick Long York. I have T-Mobile, and in my T-Mobile, I have satellite, that I can text data, Starlink, and how long is it before we go to complete satellite communications where we don't even need towers? It seems to me that the way technology is moving along, it's not long before that happens. And I'm sure that for purposes of 911, I'm sure everybody can have satellite communication phones. Aside of putting monstrosity in my front yard.
All right. Is there any more questions?
It's about dollars for Verizon.
Any more questions, statements?
Well, we had requested, I think the last time you guys came up to, in front of
Yeah, I
us,
think you said something about the,
I did ask for a section. I asked for a section cut through the site. I don't know if you guys,
Yeah, so I believe
Provide.
that section cut you reference is actually on map C12.
is that the-
In the fold out for you, I believe it's map 6, or excuse me, C1C. Those maps demonstrate the cross section. There's also further maps in